Hi, I'm back with part 2 of how I'm using One Stop for Writers online resource, as well as the Emotional Wound Thesaurus and accompanying thesauruses to help create layered characters in my current work in progress, which is a contemporary fiction story about 3 sisters who have shared and separate emotional wounds and have been estranged for several years and are in the midst of approaching their grandmother's 80th birthday party, in which they will all see each other and have to face their wounds and their fears. And right now I'm actually working on refining my organization for this so that I can use all of these resources to finally write the full draft of this for NaNoWriMo 2017. So I just wanted to show you guys how far I've come, which is not very far actually, considering the last video I've done. Summer is a really hard time for me to write. I have a lot of kids, a lot of activity in and out of the house, and it's very hard to get in a routine, but that's why I love looking forward to November, so I can get back on track again with my writing. So anyway, at this point I have organized my workspace a little bit more here, and I have created a folder here for 3 sisters, and I've started creating different notes and documents to help me organize each of the sisters' journeys, their backstories, their individual and shared wounds. So here we are, and we're going to go ahead and go through Sadie's wounds and associated traits, because this is the one I've completed the most, and I've also printed these pages out into my binder. I do like using a combination of the digital and hard copy, analog/digital hybrid. The writing process, handwriting things help me organize my thoughts, but I also like the clean, neat printed version of everything once I've done that, because my handwriting is actually kind of bad and sometimes I can't read it myself. So anyway, so what I've done is I've created a note here. If you guys watched the other video, I've changed the sisters' names, and I may or may not have caught all of them here in my notes here, but now the sisters' names are Sadie, Ava, and Rachel. So I've taken the emotional wounds, the negative traits, and the positive traits, and I've created this document here and written down what I view as Sadie's main negative traits, positive traits, the major emotional wound she experienced, which was becoming a caregiver at an early age. She's the oldest of the 3 sisters. The shared emotional wound of failing to do the right thing. She's also lived in the shadow of Ava, their baby sister, who is incredibly beautiful, which becomes her kind of thorn as well as her blessing, and raised by neglectful parents, and so on. So what I've done is I took this and then I created it, went ahead and printed it, and now I have transferred that to my binder here. So here in the binder, and I've kind of made some more scribbles here, and I will maybe update this and reprint it out eventually, but what I'm working on here for NaNoWriMo is to have each of the sisters, and then I've also separated out and printed out their wounds, their fears, and these other great tools that the website offers, One Stop for Writers, so that we can get this put together. So this is going to become my resource here. This is basically just what was on the screen, but I have it printed out so I can also write notes, and then I have some lined paper in between. What I'm really looking forward to is actually getting the full copy of the Emotional Wound Thesaurus, which I will also be writing up a review for here, hopefully within the next week, and posting that on my blog. But I have printed out these wounds as well and kind of highlighted the different points that I see Sadie that will come through in her character as I work through the different scenes. And then I was able to create her fear, and I didn't change her name, but based on the wounds and everything I gleaned from that is where I've created her fear worksheet. And this is something you can get on One Stop for Writers. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but you can answer each of these questions on the tool here. Let me get back to that. Still trying to remember how to click on everything here. So it's still Sasha instead of Sadie, but her character Fear. And when you first create this, you'll see there's a way to fill it in. You can fill in the situations she avoids, greatest failures or mistakes, the lie the character believes, deepest worry. And these all came from what I learned about the wounds she experienced and how she would possibly respond and react to those wounds, in addition to what I'd already just created in my own imagination. But all of it kind of is more cohesive now and more realistic because I have the resource from the Emotional Wound Thesaurus to help me kind of solidify what I've already suspected and pick out what is unique to her for that. So I use this here, and then I was able to save it and print it. And these actually come into a PDF form once you save them, where the notes I just kind of had to print out. Would be nice if eventually the notes could be transferred to a PDF, but I realize because they're notes, it's not like a preset kind of form, so that might be why it's not available as a PDF yet, but it still works just fine for our own resources here. So that's where I got her Fear from. And then this is something I'm going to be working on next. I will fill these out as well as I continue for my Preptober, is get this filled out. This is an emotional value tool, which again, can print out from the One Stop for Writers. And this was really cool. This is a link which I believe is going to be available once the Emotional Wound Thesaurus is available in general at the end of the month. Here is this access to the character arc progression tool, and starting out with her Fear and the outer motivation, inner motivation, just her arc as she goes through the story. As much of this as I can have ready, it's just going to really help me as I go through. And this is my Scrivener file here where I have each of the sisters color-coded in a summary of each of the scenes, synopsis of each of the scenes. So as you can see, when we're going through NaNoWriMo, all this stuff being in place is going to really help just, oh, and then I can pick and choose. Oh no, I think I want to focus on this particular, scene right here. And then I can just work on this one for a sprint or whatever. And then, back and forth. So anyway, I just wanted to share how far I've come at this point, and I know it's not a whole lot. I hope to continue to build this and get each of the sisters' sections set up here in my binder, but I just wanted to share that. Hopefully that was something in addition to my last video that kind of showed how I'm using each of these. And again, I go through and pull out the positive traits and the negative traits and how they're going to respond to emotions instead of just using an emotion. This book is great because it helps me to show and not tell those emotions as I go through each scene, which again helps increase word count, helps get less of a summarizing situation. The next thing I do want to talk about in my next video is the rural setting thesaurus in light of this particular work, because the girls are attending their grandmother's birthday party at their grandmother's house, and the house itself triggers memories throughout the novel, and those memories are, the backstory as the girls each remember each thing separately, and they respond to different parts of the house. Different memories are stirred as they're in the backyard, as they're in the kitchen, as they see different things around the house. So I'm hoping that's going to really help. All these resources are amazing. As my daughter said, and I was explaining this to her, how I'm using these for this story, she was like, Mom, how does anyone write a novel without these? And honestly, I don't know. I mean, we can guess, and obviously good stories have been written without these, but this is just so great for me, these resources. I can't wait to add the Emotional Wound Thesaurus to my collection, because it's just really helping me to not only take my own wounds of my past, because I do specialize in writing stories about women overcoming deep and difficult circumstances, is I can take those, but it's not just going to be my own experiences. Once I get through my list of how I'm using my own experiences to create the several novels I plan to write over the next few years. But then I can actually start taking those things and being confident that I can write about experiences that I haven't actually experienced myself, and feel like I can actually relate to other women, maybe the single mom, or someone who's experienced, who maybe didn't have a parent in their life. I had both of my parents in my life, despite the divorce, they're still supportive. They still love me. I still talk to them, you know. So those are the things that possibly I could expand on by using these resources. So anyway, happy Preptober to everyone. And I look forward to maybe interacting with some of you through October and November and getting our stories written and completed at least as close as we can to that 50,000 word mark by the end of November. Thank you for listening. Bye.